Owie, owie, owie.
Hör mal. Agent!
Au, jou malhond.
I like to show you that I want money.
Bruh.
Sorry?
Hello! We are back for another episode.
Episode 4. Oh my word, yay.
I'm so happy that we did it. I can't believe we made it to 4 episodes.
I'm so excited. We almost at 5.
Oh, yeah.
That feels like a big number.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm Michelle October.
I'm Jody van der Heide.
And welcome to your podcast.
We want to break down the issues of our time so that we have a deeper understanding of the story shaping our country.
Yeah, and that's the intro. We decided that we needed to make an intro.
Yeah, mostly because people told us to.
People were like, why should we listen to you guys? But why do you listen to anyone?
Yeah, exactly. Why do people make podcasts?
Why? I was listening to, I think it was You're Wrong About, and she was like expressing the host, Sarah Marshall, she was expressing her enthusiasm for podcasts, and she was like, I honestly, like, everyone should have their own podcast. I just love hearing other people think and talk and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah.
exactly. So that's why we did it. So don't ask us questions.
I'm so excited that you are hosting this week. Woohoo! Or that you are telling me a story. Because for the past 3 weeks, I've been like heavy breathing.
Yeah, you were like... You were so stressed about your story, and I'm so excited to tell you this. Like, because I have no idea how much you know or don't know. Like, I have no clue. Because we just never talk about it.
We actually have never you've spoken to me about some of it one time, but that was before we decided to do the podcast, and there's a lot that, like, I'm keen to hear more about. This morning on the radio, I'm pretty sure I heard the host say that police officers only earn 3,500 rand a month.
No, dude, that's a lie.
Okay.
Lies.
Okay.
I can say that with 100% certainty.
We should probably tell people what the topic is this week.
So, I'm doing a story on the police. I mean, the South African Police Service, aka SAPS, aka the police. But basically, I'm telling you one slice of the policing story because it's so complicated and big. There are like a million different stories I could tell you. So I'm just choosing one, which is like a good representation of like how complicated and how messed up the police organization is.
But I think this is like a really good time to talk about it because have you checked the news this week?
I have checked the news this week. Not a lot, but I have checked the news.
Okay, so at the time of recording, it's Thursday.
Yeah, we usually record on Saturdays, but today we recorded in the week.
Because #live.
Yeah.
But so, on the day of recording, the 24th of March, I woke up to absolute chaos on Cape Talk. like, people were calling in, like, I can't get to work, and y'all the taxis, hey? Oh, someone must really stop them. I just can't believe what they're doing.
Shame.
And it was just like a lot of like middle class anger. It was like just a lot of like, and I was like, why can't you understand the position that they are in?
Anytime white middle class people in this country get angry, I love it. I just love it when they get angry because they are like, do you really think that you're being inconvenienced in your nice little life? Shame.
But I'm like constantly inconvenienced though. And I'm also like middle class.
It's fine because you're not white. That's like, it's like a white middle class person. I feel zero for you.
So should we talk about like, okay, so the story was that the thing that was pushing the moms of Constantia into like complete disarray is the fact that the taxis just decided we're not doing this anymore. They lined up on the N1 and the N2.
They blocked the N2, bruh.
Where? Do you know where? Which part?
Mm-mm. But basically, you like couldn't get into town. So...
And it was actually so interesting to see the whole thing unravel, because I've been feeling like this country is like at a boiling point for a while. And so now we have the crisis with the fuel, like how the petrol price is going up, and now all of a sudden Americans are freaking out about it. So now it's all over the news.
When the Americans were complaining about the gas prices, I was like, that's so cute.
Ah!
It's like, oh, I'm so... Oh.
Look at you. Whereas we've been living here with gas prices going up like literally every second minute.
Yeah. Shame.
Yeah. And then, like, I saw on social media, people were talking about how the price of bread is going to go up. And now people are wanting to buy freezers. Like, you know those big chest freezers where people hide dead bodies?
Yeah. Yes.
A freezer like that just to stock up on bread.
Yeah.
And then Business Tech, I think it was Business Tech, wrote an article doing the math on whether or not it's economically viable to buy a lot of bread and a freezer to put all the bread in. And it turns out it's cheaper to just buy bread and not buy the freezer.
Yeah, definitely. Just buy bread, it's fine. And don't stockpile, because then other people can't get bread, guys.
You're right. Stockpiling also comes from a place of privilege, because you have money to like buy in bulk.
When it was COVID and everyone thought there was going to be no food, and then they were like, there was no pasta in the shops. Like literally, in my like the local supermarket in Manchester, there was no pasta in the aisles, bruh.
Okay, so context: Jody was living in the UK when COVID hit.
When COVID hit, and people were stockpiling, and people were buying like crazy, and I was like, "What? I just want to know. There's a virus now. What does that have to do with food?"
It has everything to do with food.
Do you think that people will not be able to get food? I just feel like that is something that will not be allowed to happen. I don't know. I just felt like it was totally extreme. Are people going to be able to go to the grocery shop and get food, guys? Seriously.
But I do think that there was a sense that like food was going to become a scarcity. I think people compared what they see in movies and thought that, oh my god, that's happening.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, just relax. No one was not going to be able to get food. We got food whenever we wanted to. The only thing I did during the lockdown was eat.
Turns out there was an abundance of food. But yeah, but like this time I'm like low-key stressed.
But it's because of
Vladimir.
Yeah. Today at work, we had like a whole meeting with the whole team just to discuss the war. It was like so...
I love your job.
Yeah.
I'm honestly truly obsessed.
And I was like... And like, the guy who was like doing the presenting like the analysis of the war was basically explaining that it will affect us. And...
You mean South Africans?
So it will affect South Africans. And food prices will go up, and energy will be more expensive, and like everything that we see now is because of.
Now you see, that really makes me like really panic, because
yeah.
So like going back to the news story about how the taxi drivers are on strike and the bread prices are rising, but then what's actually happening is that these things are coming these disasters are meeting like gross unpreparedness on the part of our government.
Mm-hmm.
And when those two things come together, I just feel like they smash into each other, like when a particularly large wave smashes into like the Dolomites or the cement at the harbour, and then the backsplash is like everybody dead.
And already like half of South Africans are hungry. No one has jobs. It's just like
last year the unemployment.
it's just ripe for like a bad situation.
Yeah, last year the unemployment rate was so bad, and there's been absolutely no moves to address that. Now the taxis aren't working, but like the trains are also not going anywhere. So there's like literally, if the taxis don't work, the public transport like actually comes to a halt.
Yeah.
And nobody can go anywhere.
Because like the majority of South Africans use taxis. Of the whole population, they use taxis.
But then Prasa uncovered 3,000 ghost workers.
I saw that headline and I read it and my brain registered, but I didn't click on it because I was like, I actually cannot.
But he handled it like Fiki Lembulula. He like the way that he addressed it was like, oh, by the way, did you hear about this thing that's going on? Like I don't think that he understands like the gravity of the situation.
3,000.
And
how does that even happen, Michelle? Like how?
Jody, I'm so sure that this is like... He says that it's got something to do with HR, because HR are the ones who action salaries. But we know from state capture that it doesn't have to be an HR thing.
Yeah, that doesn't...
It can just be a directive from somewhere.
Immediately no.
I have a feeling that someone hacked into the system. Because it would be so easy.
Yeah, it would be.
So... That's the one thing that happened. Like 3,000 employees, guys. How much money is that?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're getting paid 10,000 rand a month, that's 30,000. Is it 30,000? 3,000 times 10?
No, it's like... Okay, we can't put this in the podcast.
I can't math.
I also can't math. It's like 3 million.
A month.
Yes!
Oh my god.
We can't put this in the podcast. It's embarrassing.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure.
I feel like we should put it in. 3,000 times 10,000 rand a month is 30
million.
30 million. So that's
Where was it
30
going?
million a month.
Where was the money going? Into whose pocket?
Into whose like shell offshore
fam.
shell account. Okay, I want to like, I see all of these scandals coming up, but I want people to be in jail. I literally want to see a montage of people getting into police vans and being taken away forever. Can we, like, when is it gonna make it happen?
Yeah, please make it happen. But the problem is people have to go on trial. That's also the thing. Do you know how long trials take in this country? 100 years.
And Jody, I'm so sick of Cyril. Yo.
What?
He moves at a glacial pace.
Yeah, but everything in this country moves at a glacial pace.
But he's like unable. Do you know he said something like in Parliament? He was like, "Yeah, fear focal." I was like,
I'm not
bro.
gonna lie. I laughed when I saw that.
No, but it's so cocky.
It is cocky, and it's like he shouldn't actually be saying that. But if you fear football, then can we see some action, please? Also,
I don't trust this man. I want him gone. Okay, I just have one last news story that I want to talk about. So, like, this is the second thing that I've been seeing is that, like, there's issue with companies coming from overseas and taking indigenous land.
oh my word, yes.
So there's the story of the fishermen in Langebaan who've been like, they're like small scale subsistence fishers who've been there like literally for like centuries. And I think it was Shell and some other company like, oh my gosh, oil. So let's like freaking blast and scare all the fish away to like map out where the oil is. Mm-hmm. They actually won that court case, the small scale fishers. And then another story is this Lisbeek in Cape Town. This place called Lisbeek
River?
Lisbeek River. No, it's called the Black River, but it's like in Obs.
Yeah.
And this is like actually it's a beautiful piece of land, But apparently, did you know this?
Yeah, I knew
It's
this.
like a site where the Khoi people fought the Portuguese
It's
for the
wild.
land.
The story is wild. It's like a sacred land.
Bro!
And of all the people who want to build there, of all the companies in the world,
Jeff Bezos. Jeff, I'm not going to give you like a place for you to launch your rocket ship into Uranus. Like, kindly fuck off. I don't want Amazon doing any more work.
we don't want them anywhere. Nowhere in the world do we want Amazon.
Please see to it that you close the door behind you when you leave.
You know that man really gives me the heebie-jeebies, Michelle.
He looks creepy, hey? Ew.
No, he's just so creepy.
It's the bald head and
Yeah,
like the
that-
sharp nose. The combination is not... You must pick a struggle.
All the money in the world, but you can't dress quiet. That is a problem I have with rich people now. You have so much money, but you can't even get a tailored suit.
Mm.
Can you invest in a stylist? And someone who can cut your hair properly.
No, but he's too rich for that.
That's also the thing. When you get to a certain level, it's not even important.
Mm. Okay, so that's the news for this week. Let's take a break.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a story. I can't wait to tell you the story. I'm so excited. You like already are like on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
Okay. So, the police. Everyone in South Africa has an opinion about the police. Everyone. Everyone has their 2 cents about the police.
Yeah.
Including myself. And it's very interesting for me to like hear people's stories and opinions on the police. And also like having my own thoughts as a South African, but also like having basically studied the police for like 7 months. It's really interesting to like have an academic perspective and also just be like a regular citizen, and how do I like combine those two competing perspectives.
I know literally nothing about policing in this country. Like, zero. All I know is that I do not trust them. When I see police, like in real life, traffic cops, police people, I'm just like, get out of my face.
Yeah, and that's what like all South Africans feel, and like there's a reason why South Africans feel that way. So it's not like there's a basis for that. But let me just say that not all police are corrupt, and you don't have to distrust all of them. Some of them are really good because I've met some of them. They're not all bad. What's wrong?
Really?
Yes, it's not every single cop in the whole of South Africa that's bad.
But is your argument like, is this an argument where it's like not all men thing? What you're saying?
Probably. I feel because I've like met them and I've like seen what the work that some do. So I feel like, but I get that me saying that people are gonna be like, no.
But this is also coming from a person who is deeply distrustful of the police, like myself. But I mean, I will watch Law and Order. I'll watch any cop drama.
Yeah.
But still deeply distrustful.
Yeah, and like I get it. I mean, there's a reason why people don't trust the police, and those reasons are valid. But that's not the story.
Okay.
Now, before I start the story, I have to like set some context. Before I set some context, there's one thing I just have to say. So, like South African news stories, like with the state capture, and with anything in this country, there are so many different characters. It's really confusing. There are so many people involved that like it's hard to keep track of the different like names and who's who. So that is again the case with this story. But what makes the police also confusing is that there are like different titles and like positions in the SAPS, because it's a hierarchical organization. So you get like lieutenants.
Oh, those the foot soldiers.
Nope. I don't even know Don't even ask me, because to this day, I still don't know because it confuses me.
Oh my god.
So you get like lieutenants and detectives and warrant officers and station commanders and generals and major generals and provincial commissioners and deputy provincial commissioners and.
Okay, so it does sound like lieutenants of foot soldiers.
Mm-mm.
They're
They're
not
not.
foot soldiers.
They're not. And these are all like different positions and they all have different roles and they get paid differently. So I'm going to be mentioning like a lot of these like titles, but don't like be concerned too much about the titles. Just know that these people I'm talking about are like upper management people. These are not the people who are standing like there certifying your IDs.
Oh.
These are like the top people.
But police stations are so ugly. Why
Yeah.
are police stations so ugly? Why can't they look nice?
Like what?
Every single police station that I've ever been in is grimy, dirty, dilapidated,
Because
uncomfortable, stinky, like
Nasty.
nasty. Like you can't even why?
Because it's a state building. They all nasty. They all like that. All state buildings. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that. But you know what I mean.
Yo, it's so ugly, man.
Because there's no money. That's why.
Ugh.
There's no resources to like make buildings look nice. It's not important.
That's true.
That's what it is.
We know that like the people who do the police clearance certificates didn't pay their rent and they got like kicked out of their own building.
Exactly.
So
It's not about aesthetics.
okay.
Although there's like research that shows like if you make a place look nice then.
See?
But we don't have money for that, so that's why. Okay, so I have 2 questions for you first. No pressure. But this is for the context. So who's the Minister of Police?
Becky Cele.
Yep.
Stomach in, chest out.
You know him. He's in the news a lot.
Yeah, he always wears a fedora,
The guy with the fedora, that's him. So he's the Minister of Police, no?
but he's useless, to my understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so do you know what the National Police Commissioner is? Dude, I only knew this, discovered this 7 months ago.
What is a police commissioner?
Okay, so the National Police Commissioner, he is the head of SAPS, like the top cop. Like, you can't go any further than him in SAPS. He's number 1, on top of the hierarchy.
So now what is Becky then?
The minister. Just listen. Just listen.
Okay.
Michelle, I'm not even 5 minutes. First, okay, I think listen for a bit and then comment. Questions. So, Becky is the Minister of Police. He's not a policeman, I think. He's the politician who
Okay.
works in the ministry. The same way as like the Minister of Home Affairs.
Okay.
National Police Commissioner is the head of SAPS. You can't get any higher than him. And this guy's name is Kele Setole. And he's sometimes in the news. He's been in the news a lot. Now, Setole is supposed to tell Becky like what's going on. They're supposed to talk to each other a lot because, you know, head of SAPS and Minister of Police. Side note, they cannot stand each other.
What?
They cannot stand. They've been fighting forever in the media. They can't stand each other. They hate each other.
Wait, so how's anyone supposed to get anything done?
Exactly.
And Sorrel knows about this.
Everyone knows.
No,
They can't stand each
man.
other's guts, bruh.
No, guys.
But listen, so Setole has been commissioner for like a few years, head of SAPS. But he also has a string of dodgy stuff behind his name.
No.
Like the alleged corruption regarding a PPE tender for SAPS. And a bunch of other stuff, including the High Court finding him in breach of his duties.
No.
In fact, all this stuff was getting so bad. Like, the things that he was involved in and, like, the fighting with the Minister of Police was getting so bad that literally, like, 2 weeks ago, Ramaphosa announced that Setole would be stepping down as National Police Commissioner at the end of this month. Wow. They reached, like, some kind of agreement.
So he had to pick a baby. Like, which baby do I want? Wow.
So now we need to hire a new National Commissioner for SAPS, a new top cop for SAPS. So we now have to, Cyril now has to hire someone who's going to deal with this current SAPS.
Is it not Becky's job to do that?
I'm sure like Ramaphosa speaks to him, but it's like when Ramaphosa had to choose a Chief Justice. It's the same thing. So it's going to be super interesting to see who he chooses and how this new person is going to deal with SAPS. But this is not even the point of the story.
And deal with Becky.
This is not even the story I want to tell you. This is like just in the
gosh.
context. Anyway, third point for setting the context. In the Western Cape, there's something called the anti-gang unit. Because, you know, this is the Western Cape.
Shame, but they're losing, eh?
So, the Western Cape anti-gang unit was launched in 2018. And everyone was super excited.
Only 2018?
Yeah.
No. So what was happening before that? Just Pagat. For those of you who don't know, Pagat is this very famous anti-gangsterism group that kind of became gangsters also.
So, only 2018 this thing was launched, no? And everyone was excited. It was a media circus. Ramaphosa was like, yeah, I support you guys. And they were obviously like, this unit was brought into existence to like weaken the power of gangs and like inhibit the economy like that's linked to gangs. Because they like, the gangs are like, as we know them, but they also do like organized crime, which is why they have so much money. So they do like drugs and illegal firearms and trafficking and all that.
Girl, I'm so excited for that episode.
What episode?
You're gonna do an episode on gangsterism. I want to know everything.
Oh, hell no, dude.
Why? Are you scared people are gonna show up outside your house?
Yes. But also like, it's above
your pay grade?
Yeah.
But I just want to know like how much money, how much is it worth? You know what I mean? Like
how much is what worth?
The gangsterism in South Africa.
Oh, like how much money do they like
Yeah,
generate?
and like you know, all of those things. But okay, never mind.
Okay, so that was set in the context. Now we actually start in the real story.
Oh my gosh.
Take deep breaths. Do you need some water? Okay. I don't know if you've ever heard of the story before, but I don't think so because you were in China when this happened.
Girl, what story?
Okay. Our story starts on the 18th of September 2020. So, in this story, there's no build up, no. We just go straight in. There's no like...
There's a dead body on the street. Boom.
Yeah.
Is that literally it?
Not really, kind of.
Oh, okay.
In a way. So, it's September 2020. We're in Bishop Lavis, in Cape Town. There's a car driving down the street, and it passes the home of Lieutenant Colonel, which no one knows how to pronounce that word also. Colonel. Charles Kinner. I don't know how you pronounce. I'm just gonna say Kinnear. And there's an assailant in the car. There's one person in the car. Drives past his house and assassinates him.
In his house?
In front of the house, like in the yard.
So the lieutenant was standing outside of his house?
Just listen.
Okay, but for context, if you're listening from another part of the world, Bishop Lavis is a low-income area in an area... Is it in the Cape Flats? Yeah, in what is known as the Cape Flats. And the area is known to be like gang-ridden. Can we say that? I feel like that's true.
Yeah, there are gangsters there.
Yeah.
It's like a low-income, high-crime area of Cape Town. So he's assassinated in broad daylight at like 3 in the afternoon.
No.
Like 3 in the afternoon.
Whoa.
By a lone gunman. And he is survived by his wife and 2 sons.
Shame. I
Yeah.
hate it when that happens. Like it just...
Yeah. Lieutenant Colonel Kinnear was a detective in the Western Cape anti-gang unit. And he was a decorated detective and he was working in the gang unit and he had been investigating the very scary underworld of Cape Town. Now, you know the underworld runs the city. Like, you know that, right?
They run the city?
Like, not like in the municipal buildings, but... Yeah. The underworld is like makes all the money. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that, but yeah, anyway. So he was investigating the underworld, the gangs and the organized crime and stuff.
I cannot imagine how he did that
Just listen.
and still went home to his house in Bishop Lavis.
Just listen to the story. He was investigating organized crime syndicates and gangs, and he was also investigating an alleged syndicate of Gauteng cops helping suspects get a gun license. So this
Helping suspects.
So he was doing like super dangerous work. So he was looking into dodgy cops now, and he was looking into gangs. Very dodgy. Super dangerous.
He definitely had a target on his head.
So his assassination made headlines, and it rattled like the policing community and like policing scholars and like journalists and people who are like who follow the news, who follow like the policing stories, were like, oh no. And many of us hoped that his untimely death would sound the alarm that something major needed to happen within SAPS, and obviously this didn't happen. After his assassination, the National Police Commissioner described the tragedy as a huge loss to South Africa and its people.
Sure.
So after his assassination, the police start to investigate as to how did this happen. So they do their police work, the investigations, and several suspects are discovered.
Oh my gosh. I'm on the edge.
Bruh. Suspect number 1, his name is Zane Killian. Killian is a former rugby player, for some reason turned debt collector, who was arrested a few days after the murder in Gauteng for allegedly tracking Kenya's cell phone, which you are not allowed to track people's cell phones illegally.
You're not allowed to track their phones.
You can do it like illegal, I don't know, but he was tracking it illegally, which you cannot do, obviously.
But like, if you lose your phone and I'm like, I'm gonna go and you'll find my iPhone. But like, what if I
Yeah.
think that you're cheating on me? That's illegal then.
There are legal ways of doing it and illegal ways of doing it. He was doing
Okay.
it illegally.
Okay. But he's tracking a dead man's phone.
No, he was tracking his phone before the murder.
Oh, the lieutenant was tracking this
No.
debt collector's phone.
Mm-mm. The debt collector was tracking the assassinated guy's phone.
Okay.
Because they obviously like took Kenya's phone and looked into it and saw whatever they saw. So that's suspect number 1. This is like a week after the assassination, they got this guy. Then a few months later, in April 2021, suspect number 2 is arrested in Cape Town.
A few months.
Sure, investigations take very long. Like, this is not the Netflix series. It takes super long. Because they're investigating this murder, but they've got 100 other murders to solve also.
I'm feeling so uncomfortable.
So they arrest suspect number 2. This guy, his name is Nafiz Modak, an alleged underworld kingpin who was charged with the assassination. So like a gang leader.
So he was charged with
With the assassination of
so
the
they
detective.
so they ended up arresting him.
Yeah.
Oh.
So no, they've arrested multiple people.
Oh.
They arrested guy in Gauteng, the debt collector, for tracking his phone. 3 months later, they arrest Nafiz Modak, who is the alleged underworld kingpin. The police are saying that he was the one who shot and killed the detective. Now, in the sources, I will list the sources at the end, because if I read the sources, I was going to give like the story away, because it was all in the headlines.
Okay.
So it isn't clear if Modak is the criminal mastermind behind this entire plot, or if he just is the one that pulled the trigger.
Okay.
Either way, he's arrested. But now here's the big thing. Kenya was investigating Modak for a whole lot of crimes. So Kenya is assassinated, allegedly, by one of the guys that he was investigating. So, 1 month later, in 2021, another dude is arrested in Cape Town. This dude's name, his surname is Tabisha. I couldn't find his first name. Maybe I just didn't type it. Tabisha is a cop. And guess what? He works for the anti-gang unit.
Guys, my eyes are so wide.
The same unit that the detective was working in. Why was this guy arrested?
His colleague.
Yeah, his colleague was arrested for being involved in the murder.
Bro.
But why? Like, how was he involved with the murder? For allegedly accepting bribes from Modak.
Look, that sounds legit. That sounds like...
So the state argued that Tabisha accepted a 10,000 rand bribe from Modak to keep it informed about when the police would raid his home. Then a whole lot of other people were also arrested. Like, quite a few people were arrested for this, for somehow being connected or involved with this assassination. So it ended up being like quite a big group of suspects. So they have like a string of suspects somehow related or connected to the assassination. This is a quote from one of the articles. The group faces several charges, which include the murder of Kenya. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
How do you spell it?
Kinnear. Kenya.
I would say Kinnear.
Kenya, right? It's probably Afrikaans also.
It's a weird surname that I've never heard of it before.
So there's a whole group of suspects. They are charged for the murder of Kenya, the attempted murder of a criminal lawyer, conspiracy to commit murder, extortion, corruption, racketeering, money laundering, contravention of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, and contravening the Electric Communications Act.
Oh. That's every charge in the book. That's all of it.
Now this trial is still ongoing. Like, they've been in court this entire time. And it's like super confusing, and a lot of them are out on bail.
Okay.
So while this police investigation is happening into the murder, there's another investigation going on also. But this is not a criminal investigation. But I will explain now. And this investigation was conducted because at the time of the assassination, Kenya didn't have any security assigned to him, despite the fact that there were known threats to his life.
Huh?
Let me say this again. Kenya was doing extremely dangerous work investigating gangs, but he didn't have any security.
Is it because he rejected it?
You'll see. It's coming. This is the story.
Oh my gosh.
So now...
Is this whole story about corruption in the police?
To a certain extent. It's one of the themes.
Okay.
Now, let me say that if you are a cop in a high position, or if you are a lawyer who is trying to prosecute gangsters, or if you're in some kind of a high position and you are investigating underworld stuff, you have to have protection. You have to. It's just the way that it is. You have to.
So like the police will be like, because you're investigating this, we're going to assign you protection.
And even if you are a witness, like witnesses have to get protected because there's hits on them.
Yeah.
So, did I tell you the story of when I went to the embassy last week and what happened? This is related.
No.
So, remember when I went to like the fancy event?
Yes.
So what happened was this was actually an award ceremony issued by the US Department of State. And they have this award that they have every year that's called like 2022 International Woman of Courage, that they do like every year, where they like recognize a lot of women from different countries for doing like incredible, amazing work. And someone from South Africa won. And it's the first time a South African woman won. It was really nice. But the woman that won, her name is Ruchanda Pasco. She used to live in Manenberg. And she was there and she like got this award. And she was awarded this award. She received this award because of her like anti-gangsterism work and like she's a community activist and all this and all this.
But she had like 10 bodyguards around her.
Mm-mm.
Oh.
And she was and the reason, one of the things that she's done in like a community work and like activism and anti-gang efforts is that she witnessed something happening in Manenberg that was a gang-related thing. And so she decided that she's going to go to court and be a witness. But now if you are a witness in a gang thing and you go to court and testify, there's a hit on your head. So usually no one testifies in gang-related stuff because you will get killed. But this woman did it anyway. So like, I looked at this woman and I was like, oh my gosh, you are everything.
That's crazy, yeah.
So she went and she testified in court, what she saw, whatever. But now her and her family are basically in hiding. Because there's a hit on her.
Wow.
And she's not like a cop or a lawyer. She's like...
Regular.
Yeah. So if you're trying to fight gangsters and like underworld stuff, you have to have bodyguards and protection, and there needs to be someone like on your side the whole time. So this guy, Kenya, is a detective in the anti-gang unit, but he doesn't have protection. So this is what the second investigation was about. So this second investigation was looking at the 15 days leading up to the death and trying to find out how it was possible that Kenya didn't have any security. This investigation was launched by the National Commissioner and the Minister of Police.
Into this one policeman, like it goes so deep that they were like, no, we are going to get involved.
So
wow.
I know I said in the beginning they do not like each other, but they were like, yo, we need an investigation into this lack of security.
Wow.
And when there is like, because this is basically an internal investigation into how this happened. So when there's an internal investigation in the police, you go to this government agency, which I didn't know existed until 7 months ago. And this government agency, who only exists to investigate the police, they are called the Independent Police Investigative Directorate.
Oh, okay. So like in America, they call it internal affairs.
Yeah. So the acronym is IPID. Is the name.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of this department before?
Yeah, I've
Have
heard of
you?
IPID,
Okay.
yeah.
So I'd only heard of them when I started my internship, and I was like, who? So IPID is a government agency, and they are super important because they effectively hold the police accountable and investigate them for like all the stuff they do. And you have to have that in a democracy because you have to hold government institutions accountable.
Yes.
So IPID has a mandate, which is the following, which I got from their website. So the mission of IPID is to be an effective, independent, impartial, investigating and oversight body that is committed to justice and acting in the public interest, while maintaining the highest standards of integrity and excellence. The aim of the department is to ensure oversight over SAPS and to conduct investigations of criminal offences within the SAPS.
Okay.
So it's really good that we have this department.
Yeah, but they're probably snowed under.
They're snowed under, but they actually do their jobs.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm going to clap my hands for them.
So they were like, so IPID will come in and investigate policeman misconduct when like a suspect dies at a police station. Oh. Or if there's like when the cops assault someone or when cops torture someone. Because you don't know how to do that stuff.
Torture people?
Yeah.
Does that happen?
Yes. Like in this police station down the road it happens. So that's why they exist.
Oh my god.
And also for these like internal dodgy stuff between policemen, they will investigate. So at least we have this agency in this country. And they do actually do their jobs. So IPID launches this huge investigation into why Kenya didn't have security.
Bro.
And they make shocking discoveries.
Bro. 10,000 ghost employees.
After the investigation, they released a 61-page report where they drag the police to filth for failing to protect Kenya.
Bro, when was this released?
Maybe last year. Now the rest of the story is the things that they found in their investigation.
I've never heard about this.
What?
I never heard about this investigation. I never heard about this report coming out. This is the first time I'm hearing about literally everything that you're saying.
So, they released this report into how is it possible that Kenya didn't have security despite the fact that that it was known that he had threats to his life. Okay, so the rest of what I'm going to tell you is like the findings of this investigation. And the reason why I chose this story is because the story is like one of the 1,000 stories in the SAPS, but it's like small enough to focus on for one episode, but it's like a microscopic version of all the problems within SAPS. So like there's a lot of themes that come out which is applied to the whole of SAPS.
So if you want to understand why SAPS is the way it is, this is a good case study.
Yes, this is a good case study.
Okay.
So they come about, the IPA drops this report and they drag SAPS through the mud,
Bro.
which is their job, obviously.
Yeah.
But obviously they dragging them through the mud because they did proper, solid, thorough investigations. Now, the Daily Maverick, shout out,
Snaps.
did a series of 5 articles that's just on the findings of this report, which is basically what I used for the rest of like the story. Those 5 articles are just like,
Okay.
yeah.
Your Daily Maverick really is that girl, hey? Yo, I love them so much.
Yes, I love them so much.
Bless you, Daily Maverick.
So,
Did you know that they have a subscription where you can pay 200 Rand for them every month, but then you also get like a 200 Rand Uber voucher?
yeah.
Are you a member?
No. Are you a member?
I want to become a member, but the way my bank account is set
Set
up.
up.
But I think I actually am going to do it, just because now that we're doing the podcast,
Yeah.
and we rely on them so heavily, I feel like we should just give back.
I agree. Support good investigative journalism.
And I would encourage you listening to also.
Yeah, we literally, I think like I mostly use Daily Maverick articles for this entire story.
It's just the level of investigation
Yeah.
always comes from a place of like knowledge, and they're not going to give you like a small story. They're going to give you a meaty story.
Yeah, it's super thorough.
with legs. Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm going to give you 6 findings that they found. That 6 of the things that was listed in the report. Obviously, a lot more was listed, but these are like
Major red
those 6
flags.
ones. Number 1. All the cases that Kenya was investigating have basically collapsed because of his death.
Nobody picked up the pieces.
Nope. These cases can't continue and they can't be finalized.
Why?
This is a quote from one of the articles. His death has hindered justice to take its course against suspects, and by extension has also hindered the SAPS disciplinary proceeding against implicated SAPS officials. Because in many cases, Kenya is the only person who had intimate knowledge of the cases. So that knowledge is gone with him.
So there were no reports filed.
No, there were like case files and stuff, but like there are some things that only he knew. So the report estimates that
That's
the report
devastating.
estimates that 20 cases may collapse as a result of his assassination. All the underworld stuff he was investigating, all the dodgy cops he was investigating.
Poof. Bro. That's devastating.
Yeah. No, it is really bad.
But they need to like put things in place so that if someone investigating dies, there's like someone to pick up the pieces.
I'm sure there is. No, I'm really sure there is. But you also have to remember that SAPS, they are overworked and there is not enough. They are overworked. They are overstretched. There's a ridiculous amount of crime in this country. And there's a finite number of police people.
Why are there so few cops then?
But the problem is that there's almost 200,000 cops.
Is that a lot? I don't know what is a lot.
It's a lot.
So So we have a lot of police who still can't.
But Michelle, we're a population of like 50 million people. And 200,000. So how, like...
So then, but you said 200,000 is a lot of cops.
It's a lot of cops.
But proportionate.
Yes.
So we should hire more cops then.
We should hire more cops, but that doesn't necessarily solve the crime problem.
So what is the solution?
The solution is... There are many solutions, but only talking about police is... Okay, so there's crime. We have high levels of crime and violence, and we have police. Number one, the police is a dysfunctional institution. So they cannot operate effectively. The same way that ESCOM is a dysfunctional institution and can't operate effectively. So that is already a problem. They can't operate properly because of how weak and broken the SAPS organization is. Number two, they are super well resourced. They're like one of the institutions or the state agencies that have like one of the biggest budgets. But it's no problem if you have a lot of money but you don't use it properly. Number two, we can have 5 million police officers, but if they don't know how to police properly, then it's not going to make a difference.
So do you think that the police skill set is lacking?
It's lacking in some ways, but also policing is like a really, really complicated and difficult thing to do. It's a really difficult job. I'm not defending police, but just think of like what the job actually involves. It's really hectic. And like the amount of trauma that police people go through just because of what they see every day. Imagine you are there's a police station in Camp Spain. What kind of problems do they have there compared to the police station in Kailicha?
But I will say, like, I remember from when I was at school and I studied politics, one of the things that like they teach us is that there's soft power and there's hard power when it comes to governments, and policing is part of the hard power that is employed by the state to ensure that compliance happens. And like the compliance needs to be sort of like a two-way street. So the police are enforcing compliance so that we can have like a, in inverted commas, peaceful society, but there also needs to be a buy-in from people into the police. And that buy-in from the people side is not there. And so immediately there's a dysfunction with the police system. So
there's a dysfunction within the police as like their own organization, and then with the relations with the citizens. So the citizens aren't buying in, so they don't think the police are legitimate. So why must I trust you if I think you are cuck?
And that's exactly what that you and I both said about the system at the beginning of the story. And that's like why we have these problems.
And it's like South Africans have very good reasons for not trusting the police. I'm not saying that their reasons are unjustified. It is. But like it is a two-way street. And if you have seen how police can like there's lots of examples of police brutality in South Africa. So if you are looking at that, like think how they treated students during Fees Must Fall. You're gonna be like, hell no, I am not trusting you.
But if there is an element of distrust, police still have the power to crush dissent. But it also depends on how well organized that organization is.
So there's like lots of like criminologists, like there are people who specialize in policing, and there's lots of like theories on how to improve relations with citizens and stuff. So these theories and stuff exist, but how do you like implement it in this organization that is falling apart? So it's super complicated.
By the way, we should tell listeners that like the reason that you're speaking from a place of authority here is that you are a criminologist.
That's true.
Okay, let's continue with the story.
Yeah, that was a nice
Interlude.
Mm.
But I just felt like we needed to discuss that.
No, we definitely should have. So 20 cases have collapsed and just gone poof into the abyss. Into the ether. My favorite word.
I'm picturing Natalie Portman from Marvel, like, you know, the ether in Hulk, and she... Is it Hulk? No, Thor. And she just, like, fucking floating there, like...
That is these cases.
That tickles me.
With regards to Kenya's investigating the dodgy cops, giving suspects gun license, which is like, guys, please.
How? I don't understand how a suspect of a crime can get a gun license.
I also don't know. I don't know. So, the IPID report found that the investigations by Detective Kenya also found that the rot, I love the fact that they use the word rot, that the rot was not only in the central firearm registry, I will speak about that now, but also extends to some stations in Gauteng province. So, with the dodgy cops giving suspects gun license.
Oh.
So, there are two things here. He found that there weren't only cops in the stations giving suspects guns, but also cops at the Central Firearm Registry. Now, the Central Firearm Registry is basically like a mini department within SAPS that controls and regulates and gives out the gun licenses, and that's where you go when you want to fill in your forms and all that. So there are people that work there, and they were also involved.
Of course.
So these investigations gave rise to the arrest of suspects and for the SAPS to institute disciplinary actions against involved members. So basically against other cops. That was a direct quote. 2 Gauteng station commanders were arrested for this in October 2020. But now a station commander, let me just say, a station commander is basically basically the cop in charge of a police station.
Yes. What?
Number 3.
No, you see now why, like, where's my trust supposed to come from if you're telling me all of this?
No,
And this is in relation to one story, one incident in one province, in one municipality. No. No. Cancel.
Number 3. IPID's report found that the anti-gang unit was not performing properly, was not functioning as good as it should have been. The unit was insufficiently resourced, and the cops working in the unit were insufficiently capacitated to do their jobs. So how must this one baby unit operate properly when these are the problems?
Yeah.
The unit did not have a head detective who Kenya should have been able to report to.
So everyone was just working, so instead of working in a hierarchical environment the way that the police operates, they were working in I don't know, a circle.
So there was a head of the anti-gang unit. His name comes up somewhere, I can't remember what his name is. So there was a head of the unit. But then there were positions that weren't filled, so there was no do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Kenya didn't have a supervisor he could have gone to. So basically the unit is a mess. So which is
Yeah.
so consider the problems in this unit, the problems of the biggest SAPS also. And obviously it would be because these things filter down.
Yeah.
Number 4. This is a biggie. The report also found that there were threats on Kenya's life 2 days before his assassination.
Someone tried to kill him 2 days ago, 2 days before.
Not there were threats here. 2 days
Bro!
before he got killed.
And no one did anything? They were safe home, bro. Text me when you get home.
Listen to this.
Nah, please, no. How is this possible? Guys.
Michelle, this
I'm so stressed.
Yeah. So they did the investigations, and this is what they found. An anonymous call. Now, yeah, I know. I don't know why, but the idea of anonymous call scares me so much. Like,
so freaky.
anything anonymous, I don't like.
To begin with, if someone calls me on my cell phone and it's an unknown number, I'm like,
That's already like that. Meanwhile, it's just like.
But if you pick it up and like maybe it's just like heavy breathing or an anonymous call being like, we're gonna come for you. We are coming for
Imagine.
you. I would shit my pants.
So, an anonymous call was made to the anti-gang unit's operation room.
Yo. Not even to his cell phone.
So a sergeant, one of the cops working in the operation room, picked up the phone. The phone is ringing. You must answer the phone because it could be a tip off or something. He answered the phone, and the anonymous person said that there was a cash reward for Kenya's murder, as well as another police officer by the surname of Jafta. Now I don't know who Jafta is. If Jafta also works in the anti-gang unit.
Jafta, are you okay, babe?
So this anonymous person told the guy on the phone, there's a cash reward for one of your detectives. The sergeant who heard this was like, oh no. And he did the right thing and he went to tell his supervisor. Good for you, bruh.
Good for you. Good boy.
So he went to go tell his supervisor, who is the boss of the operations room. The report found that for some reason, the operation room manager didn't tell anyone about this. He didn't go tell Kenya, his colleague, and he didn't go tell Major General Lincoln, who was the head of the unit. He didn't tell anyone.
It's giving I'm involved. It's giving the buck stops with me, but in a bad way.
So one of his employees came and told him this, and he was just like, okay, and did nothing. It was therefore recommended in this report that the operations room commander be criminally charged with defeating the cause of justice and departmentally charged for not complying with his duties.
Yo! I wasn't expecting that.
These people, this IPID people,
I was expecting him to be suspended, fired, investigated. I didn't expect actual jail time. I, as a South African citizen, would not want to go to a South African jail. Especially not if I'm a cop.
bruh, it's like the worst thing that could happen. On
You'll
this face of
die
this
like
earth.
before you even put your toe in the door.
So, what do we have so far? 20 cases are going to just disappear into the ether. The gun thing with the Central Firearm Registry and two station commanders in Gauteng.
Bro.
The anti-gang unit is dysfunctional, was under-resourced, people weren't trained properly. No. There were threats on Kenya's life. The guy knew this information and didn't go tell anyone.
And that police officer who picked up the phone, he also didn't go and tell Kenya.
Yeah. She's talking to her chickens.
Your next door neighbor is talking to your chickens.
To her chickens, yeah.
Jody, that was so creepy. It's dark outside. You're telling me this scary story. I have to drive home tonight after recording this. Like, I'm poop scared. And now there's a voice coming from nowhere calling for chicken.
She's singing to them. The chickens are their pets, bro. I hear this every day.
But, like, in the moment, were you telling me about ghost phone calls?
Yeah, no, it's not a good look.
The pop is real. Okay, continue.
Number 5. And just think of already all the things I told you now. I'm even too scared to even tell you this because you're going to be like, oh, hell no. IPID's report found evidence of a... What is South Africa's favorite word? Rogue unit.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's so funny. But a real one, not a fake one.
No, this is for real. Like an actual... There was a rogue unit within the police operating in the Western Cape.
Love to see it.
This is where it gets real crazy. As if it's not already wild.
Bruh.
In 2018, 2 years before his assassination, Detective Kinnear sent a 59-page letter
What?
to his bosses where he complained and alleged that Western Cape cops were out to frame him and his colleagues. He also mentioned in this 59-page letter that his life was in danger.
So he knew.
He knew for years, bruh.
For years. How old was he?
I don't know, like middle age, maybe 50s,
Shame.
60s. In his letter, he complained that the rogue unit was aligned to Modak.
I just got chills.
The gang kingpin arrested for his assassination. He knew this in 2018 already, Michelle.
When did he die? 2020? Sure.
He said in his letter that the cops were colluding with gangsters. He sent this letter to his boss, to the upper management people of the SAPS in the Western Cape, and nothing happened. They read his letter and nothing happened. Yeah, it's just,
It's scary.
it's so scary.
It's very scary.
The report, so IPOD's investigation in relation to this also found that one of the people that came across his letter was the head of crime intelligence in the Western Cape. His name is Tio. So they saw this is like one of the heads of SAPS in the Western Cape. They say that this guy needs to be investigated because of his apparent unconcern and lack of action about the claims of a rogue unit.
Yo.
Turns out that Tio was not particularly cooperative when IPOD came to him and asked him questions.
Okay.
Kinnear also alleged that Tio and Modak were working together.
There's it.
The report found that Tio did not assess the threats made on Kinnear's life.
There's it.
He did nothing about the complaints about the rogue unit. It was recommended that he also be held accountable. IPOD's report found that this rogue unit was creating serious tensions among police officers in the Western Cape.
Well, obviously because some of them are gangsters and some of them aren't.
No, what do you mean?
Like some of the police officers.
No, they don't. They don't necessarily gangsters. They're working for the gangsters.
That makes you a gangster.
So that's that one finding.
Bruh. I'm actually not surprised by anything that you've just told me.
Number 6. This is the last one. Remember in the beginning I said that one of the suspects was arrested for allegedly tracking Kinnear's phone to see his location and his whereabouts. So the IPOD report found evidence of this. In the days leading up to the murder, Kinnear's phone was pinged, quote unquote, is now what the term is.
What does that mean?
It's when his phone was traced so they could see his location. So that's the debt collector guy in the beginning was tracking his phone to see where Kinnear was. You can't do that.
He wanted to cash in.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
And you can especially not do that to cops, a detective.
Yeah.
Are you mad?
Yeah.
Now, how do you even get into a police person's cell phone?
I don't know. I honestly can't even imagine.
The iPod also found that that members of the Hawks. I know the Hawks comes in here.
No, members of the Hawks did what? Oh, they're supposed to be like elite, untouchable.
They're like the FBI or South Africa.
Away.
They found that the Hawks in Gauteng, this is a direct quote, had failed to initiate a criminal investigation into the illegal monitoring of the late Lieutenant Colonel Kenya's cell phone.
Okay, so they fumbled the bag.
As the investigation revealed, the Hawks had knowledge of the person or persons involved in the tracking of the phone, but didn't do anything.
Why?
Who knows, bruh? Who knows? Now, shout out to iPod for their next level investigation skills, because they found a company who I don't know if this is legal or what. But I'm just gonna read what it says here. The owner of a company that effectively sold pings had spoke to iPod, and this owner who sold the pings noticed something funny going on. He noticed that on the 3rd of September 2020, there was a lot of pings going on in Kenya's phone. And this owner of the ping people went to the police station and said, someone is tracking Kenya's phone in Cape Town.
So this was like entirely preventable. So we've got the cop who knew that there was a price on his head. We've got the ping, the guy who went to the police station. We've got Kenya who sent in a letter being like, guys, I'm like absolutely gonna I'm in danger. And literally everybody's getting this information and they're all like, cool, just leave it on the desk there.
So this guy who's selling pings noticed there was way too much activity going on here. Goes to the police and says there's too much activity going on here in Cape Town on this particular mobile
and
device.
this bruh who's selling pings is also doing something illegal, Moss.
I don't know.
I'm sure. But
This
he
guy
still went to the police.
Yeah. Because he was like, that's just not right.
I want to check if I'm being pinged.
On 16th of September 2020, the owner of the ping company and the officer who he reported to
No.
had a big fight. They got into an argument because the pings were increasing and increasing and increasing, but the cops didn't do anything about this guy coming to them and saying these pings are increasing. And 2 days later, assassinated.
Who?
Kenya.
Oh, Kenya. I thought you meant the ping guy.
2 days later, he's assassinated. IPO's investigation found that the Hawks had plenty of evidence, but did nothing. 2 Hawks officials had knowledge of this. They knew the phone was being tracked, but did nothing.
So they could have made arrests.
Yes. Yeah. This entire... He could have been... The point of the story is that because of the behaviors and the actions of everything that I just said, his assassination was 100% preventable. 100%. Because the officers failed to act, this resulted in the killing of Lieutenant Colonel Kenya. And it was recommended that the 2 Hawks officers be criminally charged for defeating the ends of justice.
This is so sad because you would expect incompetence from government at any institution, and you would expect incompetence from the police because of the country that we live in. But you would expect it, but it's unacceptable.
Yeah, that's what it is.
This is the kind of thing where it's yeah, we know you guys are lazy, but you this can't happen.
Yeah.
You actually can't afford to do things like that.
So it is clear that SAPS, his colleagues, the entire SAPS organization left Kenya exposed. They didn't take his complaints and threats seriously. They just left him. They lost him, basically. They undermined him.
They hung him out
They
to
threw
dry.
him to the wolves. And now he's not on this planet anymore.
It makes me think how many other really, really good cops are they hanging out to dry like this?
I can do another million series of that to answer that question. So there's no communication. There's no sense of urgency. There are secrets between cops. They are insufficiently capacitated. There are no lines of... Okay, I said that. They are dysfunctional. Everything is just a mess. And that is the story.
Do you know, this is like, it's so dangerous. It's such a dangerous combination. As soon as you have something like that, we're talking about like things just going very, very wrong.
Mm-hmm. So, the last thing I want to say, my conclusion, that consider this a good example of the problems that are facing the institution. And this is the thing with SAPS, and I've seen this like in the last few months through all the readings and the work, is that when you look at one problem in SAPS, you look at one thing and it leads to a can of worms. And when you start to investigate one of those worms, it leads to a can of worms. And that worm leads to another worm. And it's just like never ending can of worms. A bottomless pit.
A bottomless pit of worms.
Of worms.
And then you just drown.
So who must fix this? Not only who is supposed to fix this bottomless pit of worms, but how is supposed to fix this?
Yeah.
Let me read my sources.
I'm thinking about everything that you've just said, and it's making me feel so overwhelmed.
Exactly, it's so overwhelming. How do you fix anything? Whose job is it to fix it? How do you even go about fixing this problem?
Can it be fixed?
Can it be fixed? This is why people are saying abolish the police, start from the beginning. You have to completely scrap this institution. Like, scrap it. And you need to start from the beginning. Obviously, we cannot do that. But
the police is a function of the state, though. So what we're really talking about is like...
Abolish. We're calling for anarchy, actually. So, I just want to read the articles. It's quite a lot, but I feel like I need to read it.
You have to reveal your sources.
Revealed my sources, all from the Daily Maverick. I literally think they're all from the Daily Maverick, except maybe one, I don't know. So, number 1. More than 20 critical criminal cases could crumble because of Charles Kinya's assassination by Karen Dolly. You need to check out Karen Dolly. She's a journalist from Cape Town. She's a colored girl. And she wrote a book about the underworld of Cape Town.
And she's still alive.
Yeah.
Hectic.
And she writes all these SAPS criminal investigation stuff. Shout out. Represent.
Wow, Karen.
Anti-gang unit was not properly formed, had no adequate resources, failed to protect Charles Kinya by Karen Dolly. Rogue cop unit in the Western Cape exists and drove divisions in the province. Sorry. Let me start from the beginning. Rogue cop unit in the Western Cape exists and drove divisions in the province's police. Karen Dolly. Hawks officers did nothing to prevent Charles Kinya's assassination. Should be criminally charged by Karen Dolly. A year after top cop's murder, the SA Police Service is more chaotic than ever. Karen Dolly. Cell phone towers don't lie.
They don't?
Cell phone towers don't lie. The 24-hour potential killer in your pocket could also help solve your murder. Here's how. By Marianne Tam.
Oh, Marianne Tam. I'm obsessed with her work.
Hawks officers didn't... Okay, I read that already. Nafiz Modak and Zayn Killen don't blink an eye as they share the dock for the first time. By Vincent Krevach. And also shout out...
I know him!
How do you know him?
I know him!
How?
He's a friend of my mom's. He is so lit.
What?
He is lit. He's beyond lit. He used to also write for
I've never said this before. When can I meet... Have a braai and then you invite him. So I can just be like, thank you for your service.
He knows a lot. He's incredible. He's so lit.
What?
Hello, Uncle Vincent, if you're listening.
I am so shook. And then a last one, also by Vincent. Court told how anti-gang unit policeman was lured into corruption web. So...
Jody, that was so deep and so intense, and it's left me feeling so overwhelmed. and I'm so scared. And like, you know, we had the July riots and the police were also like absolutely useless. But
Okay,
like,
that is another story. That's a different situation. But yes.
but like, having the police involved in any crisis, like, it just I'm so I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to think.
Yeah. This is welcome to my job.
Oh.
It's very, 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 very bad. It is.
I've thought about moving away from South Africa again, given the situation that we're in. But I honestly think that the only way that things are going to change is if people stay and fight.
Yeah, that is the only
We
way.
have to stay and
We
fight.
have to, yeah. It is the only way.
We can go, but we should stay and fight. I don't want this place turning into like a complete wasteland. I don't want this to happen to my country.
And the thing about South Africa, when I think about it like the way you're saying, is that we know how nice South Africa can actually be.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing that upsets me is the amount of potential in this country.
Mm.
Like...
Look, I know that there are steps to take towards action and we haven't like narrowed down what those steps are. But actually, from what I've been seeing in the news, the only way to actually get what you really want in this country when it comes to reform is through the courts.
Mm.
If we look at what happened with the nuclear deal, if we look at the Khoi people and the small-scale fishers in Langebaan, the only way that they got their voices the only way they got their voice heard was through the courts. And things like fees must fall, like protests, for me, yeah, you can protest, but it feels like finding a legal precedent is probably like gonna be way more successful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also just want to say that one of the things that gives us strength as a people who belong to a country is knowing more and more about our country, so that when we go and vote, we know exactly who to hold accountable. And this kind of like gross negligence, the level of negligence that I'm seeing, it's giving me a lot of information and power.
Yeah.
I don't know that I believe in the voting system, but I do know what I don't want to see.
Yeah. And I think that the voting system, like the IEC, is actually... They're not corrupt. Like, they are one of the people... They are one of the... I don't even know which one to
Institutions.
call them. Institutions that are actually... that work well and do their job properly.
But they're not responsible for the way that government operates.
Yes, that's the thing.
All they do is facilitate the election.
Yeah. But I'm saying that you can trust that the outcomes of...
Yeah.
So if people knew, like, that would be one way. Do you know what I mean?
But that's not to say that, like, the DA is going to be a viable alternative.
Yeah, that's also true.
I mean, they were also in the news this week because of all the young black professionals who are leaving the organization in droves.
What?
Yes, dude. Another person left. Do you remember when Lindiwe...
Yes.
Is it Lindiwe Mazibuko? Is that her name?
She left.
She left and she was like, I'm gonna go study overseas.
That's how I met her.
You did?
Yeah.
What's she like?
She was... Honestly, I just looked at her and I was like, I'm too scared to say anything because I'm gonna sound like an idiot.
Do you know we studied the same thing? Yes. We both did our...
Were you in the same...
No. We both did honours in rhetoric at UCT, and we studied one of her papers that she wrote.
That's cool.
And then she went on to work for Parliament, but...
She was like, I'm out of here. But she's recently started like her own... I don't want to say foundation because that's not what it is.
Yeah, so like I'm saying the DA is not a viable alternative.
I never forget what they did to Musi.
Oh, yeah, no. Shame. Poor Musi. But, like, I think at some point we do need to talk about the... is it the electoral system? Or is it just the political party system? Or is it both?
Probably both.
Because that also, veki 80. And if I see the ANC win another election, I swear to God, I'm so sick of them. They need to go. I just believe that political parties can't stay in power for that long.
No, there needs to be a...
The rot has set in. We need to circulate. We need to let it breathe. Do you know what it needs to be? Did you ever do in geography? Did you ever learn about farming and how they like farm in in quarters? So,
I don't understand a word you are saying to me right now.
Okay, so we learned this at school. And I don't know why, but this stuck with me forever. But it's like when you have a farm, you divide the farm up into sections and you like plant your seeds here. And then when it harvests, you move on to another section of the farm and you replant seeds in that section.
Oh, okay.
And the section that you just harvested from, they call it letting it lie fallow. So it like relaxes and resets and takes a break. And then you come back to it and the soil is like nice and nutritious and ready for growth. I feel like we need to do that with our political parties.
Yeah.
Like the ANC must like relax for a bit.
Take a time out, guys.
Yeah. Lie fallow. Rejuvenate your soils, guys. And then come back like in another 50 years. But like honestly, fuck off.
Exactly. That's a good place to end it, I think.
Thank you so much for listening. Follow us on Twitter, Your Podcast, and on Instagram, Your Podcast, YOH Podcast. And you can email us, yourpodcast21@gmail.com.
Yes, perfect. Thanks, guys, for listening. I hope you enjoyed my story and that you are not like too rattled. I hope you can sleep tonight, at least.
I'm not sleeping tonight.
I hope you please don't go down on a bottomless pit on the internet reading about this, because it's going to upset you. You're already upset after listening to this. You don't need to be more upset.
So go watch an Aussie Man reviews.
Yes.
I love Aussie Man.
Like scroll through reels or something.
Watch Laurie Hill on YouTube. She debunks plastic surgeries and it's the best thing ever.
I'm obsessed with this woman.
I love her.
You really do. Thanks, guys.
Okay, bye.